a special hot sheet from Atlanta. We're in the Battery at Truist Community Corner in front of a live studio audience here. It's Scotty Braun along with Baseball America's JJ Cooper and Peter Flaherty. Very excited to recap the draft and everything else that's going on down here in Atlanta. Before we even hit the specifics of the draft team and player-wise, JJ, I do want to take a global look at the sport because we delivered the goods on the Foul Territory Network and Baseball America, whether it's good or bad. And we're going to hype players and teams coming up in a moment. But your picture on Twitter showing the crowd at the Futures game went pretty viral. That's not good. It was quite empty. And there were how many players? 0 players that showed up for the MLB draft. And I know it's complicated, but 0. We have to take a step back as a sport and say, what are we doing? And what should we do to change it?
Okay, let's take the draft for a second first. Okay, so with the draft, the tricky part with the draft that I don't have a good answer for, other than maybe pay the players to come, is unlike these other drafts, right? In the NFL draft, if you show up, you don't know where you're going to be drafted, but you know that you're going to sign, right? If you get drafted, you're going to sign. You're already done with your eligibility. NBA draft, if you get drafted, you're going to sign. You could have backed out earlier, but at that point, you're going to sign. The baseball draft's not that way. The baseball draft is something where if you're in high school, you can sign or you can go to college. If you're in college, you can sign or you can go back to school. And so a lot of agents have the fear that by showing up, right, you're indicating in some way that you are going to sign. Now, obviously, most of the guys who are top first-round picks are going to sign. But the agent has to kind of drive that bargain where it's like, look, if you don't give me the money I want, we'll just go to school or we'll stay at school or whatever. And if you're there, that kind of exerts a little bit of pressure on the agent because it's kind of embarrassing if you're player A who's sitting there the whole night and you never hear your name called because the agent wanted $6.2 million and no one was willing to give you more than 4.8. And so it's like, okay, we're going to school. That's a situation that doesn't exist in the other ones. I don't know how to, like, we've obviously had players year after year who do show up, but I don't know how to solve that in the long term because the baseball draft is different than the other ones.
Okay, so let me ask you about this. Because it's generally going to have just first round picks and even potentially top 10, 15, 20-ish tops is who is going to show up because you also don't want to show up there and then not even fall in the first round, even regardless of money, but based on talent. That's one thing.
Although we've had examples where it's like you hear a guy invited and he's going to show up and you're like, huh, okay.
Is he going to get picked?
You know.
But here's my question. The draft nowadays essentially has a cap to it. You're allotted a certain amount of money. Should we make it more of a structure where this pick has this designation for how much money and you go down the line and it becomes really a talent A all the way down to talent Z kind of situation?
I would say no, because like that, I will say for one thing, that's kind of almost like the things that the PA has always fought against. That's a salary cap in some ways.
But they already have that in the draft.
No, but they don't in some ways. They have it in some ways, but at the same time, if you're Paul Skeens, you're going to make more money, whatever that pick is, than if you're the number one pick in a year where there's no clear number one. There is a negotiation very much going on.
Sure, but it's like, and I know this is a big deal for individual players, but it's like, we're not talking about tens of millions of dollars. We're saying like, oh, Paul might get 8.5 or 10. Like my thing is, we are ruining pieces of the draft and our sport by embarrassing ourselves and having no one there because of the way it's structured. It's already a cap. The team has to, we should say the team has to spend their whole allotment, but it's going to be laid out this way. That's my argument for otherwise, what's the fix?
Again, that's what I don't. This is an unusual year. In most years, we've had multiple guys there, right? This is like, maybe this is a new trend. Maybe this is a year that certain agencies who generally are not going to send their players to the draft had many of the top, players who were going to go top 10. So maybe it's an unusual year. We don't know on that, but that's, again, it is something where, yeah, I wish that's the problem with this in the futures game too. The same thing when we talk about the futures game, I don't have an easy answer for that either.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
And I said it last week. I said it's going to be completely buried from a TV and from an attention perspective because you're putting it on a Saturday in the thick of games. They have this place held down for a week. Tuesday is the All-Star game. Everyone's all hyped up. You just saw the best players on the planet. Want to see the next wave of best players on the planet? Wednesday. I don't care about your minor league schedule. If a guy misses a game or two.
Yeah, but they don't play on Wednesday either. They're out too.
Who doesn't?
Minor leagues.
So here's my point. Futures game Wednesday. You have the ballpark good to go. Don't tell me we want to get everyone out. We can't pay for an extra day, whatever. You're putting it on Saturday where it's buried.
I would love to try that. My suspicion is we'll see less in that game, in that situation.
Less what?
Less attendance. You see more, a little better TV ratings, but less attendance.
Better TV ratings, I think, is important. I think,
right, but on the Wednesday,
get much worse than the other day.
But see, that's where I was going to say though. This one's been an unusual one. Like, okay, as much as it pains me to say, part of it is you got to get the right people for the celebrity softball game, and
Really?
that hurts me. But LA was packed. Why was LA packed?
It's LA though. They're packed for everything.
No, they were packed because they had Bad Bunny.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I was walking in, I would ask some people, what are you here for? And they were like, Bad Bunny. So
LA does show up, and not that Atlanta doesn't, but.
No, but I would say also, we are timed here. Like, I've had Braves fans reach out to me after that tweet and make the points like, this is terrible timing in some ways. Braves fans are very upset, very disheartened with their team right now, right? They're having the worst year they've had in years. And so it wasn't something, J.R. Ritchie started the game, Hayden Harris was in the game, but it's not something where they have a Ronald Acuna like they've had in past years. They didn't have an Ozzie Albies in the game. They didn't have, going back to Freddie Freeman and Jason
But
Hayward.
that's why they didn't show up to the Futures game?
In some way, yeah. Like if you said, like when I talked to the Royals, because the Royals, Kansas City was the gold standard of this. And the Royals fans say, we didn't have anything else, but we wanted to see Jordano Ventura. We wanted to see Will Myers. They had great prospects, and so, yeah, they were going to come see that.
Well, let me ask Peter here. So we've been hogging and dominating. As you can tell, we're a little passionate about this one. But, Peter, what do you think about my two ideas with the draft and with the Wednesday Futures game? Yay or nay with either of those? And if you have any other ideas, I'm all ears. I know it's complicated.
No, I was gonna kind of just let you guys duke it out. I was an excited kind of bystander for it, but I don't hate the idea of trying it on a Wednesday. Obviously, you want the most amount of eyes you can on the game and the future of the sport. I think that's really, really important. So, I mean, if you try it out on a Wednesday, sort of a trial run and see how that goes, I mean, I don't hate it. I'm just all for getting as many eyes as possible on the sport as we all are. So that idea seems to promote it. So I'm about it.
There are a lot of baseball fans that will look for anything baseball, and there's no games on Wednesday.
It is other than just no games. There's basically like no sports.
There's nothing. We are wasting a time period there when it is our time to shine. We should not have blank nights because there are so few in sports. And the Futures game could be really cool for people to check out.
You've sold me that I would love to try it, and if it doesn't work, we can always.
That's my point.
Yeah.
What's the worst that happens? You do it on a Wednesday night, it doesn't do as well, and it's not worth it. Okay, but I haven't heard a good reason. I know the other one's complicated. I haven't heard a good reason why we wouldn't put it on its own platform on one night to see what happens. So until I'm getting told otherwise, besides, it's logistically annoying, we'd have to rebudget. Okay, do you want to sell the future of the sport? This is the way to do it. This is the premier showcase, and it is a cool event. I've been part of it. I love it. So I'm saying this because I want it to change. All right, when we come back, we're going to deliver the goods on the draft, teams, players, shocker at the top, the whole deal coming up next.
Scott, you have a Built Rewards card, right?
I do, Kratz. I pay a lot of money in rent, and now I get something for that. There's no cost to join, and just by paying rent, you unlock flexible points that can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, a future rent payment, your next Lyft ride, and much more. When you pay rent through Built, you unlock two powerful benefits. First, you earn one of the industry's most valuable points on rent every month. No matter where you live or where your landlord is, your rent now works for you, and you gain access to exclusive neighborhood benefits in your city. Built's neighborhood benefits are things like extra points on dining out, out, complimentary post-workout shakes, and much more. Unique experiences that only Built members can access. And when you're ready to travel, Built points can be converted to your favorite miles and hotel points around the world, meaning your rent can literally take you places. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, what are you waiting for? Start paying rent through Built and take advantage of your neighborhood benefits by going to joinbuilt.com/foul. That's joinbilt.com/FOUL. Make sure to use our URL so that they know we sent you.
Let's hit the first move. Fun night watching the draft for me to follow the storylines, especially at the top. But let's start with team takeaways. Peter, your thoughts on some teams that stood out one way or another?
Yeah, I mean, starting with a draft that I really liked, I loved what the Baltimore Orioles did, especially with their first 5 picks. They got Ike Irish at 19, and then they went back-to-back with Caden Bodine and Vaheva Aloy at 30 and 31, respectively. Slater DeBrun and Joseph Jurwa with their CBA pick and their second-round pick, and then they rounded out the night with JT Quinn and RJ Austin. But particularly focusing on those first 5 guys, Ike Irish is one of the better hit power combos of any college hitter in this year's class. He's got a comfortably plus arm. The question mark with him is, where does he fit defensively? Even if he does move off of the catcher position, it seems perhaps more likely than not that he ends up in a core outfield spot. The bat is enough and the arm is enough where that's still a really, really enticing profile, especially with the bat. I mean, it's 55s on both the hit and power. And then with Bodine, he's one of the best defensive catchers and one of the best catchers in general in this year's draft. He's one of only 2 players that we at Baseball America stuck a plus hit tool on, him and Kaysen Cunningham, high school shortstop out of Texas. But outstanding feel for the barrel, double plus contact skills, smooth and sound defender behind the plate with an above average accurate arm. Vaheva Aloy, Golden Spikes Award winner, plus bat speed, plus power, not only raw, but most importantly in game. I've become increasingly more confident in his ability to stick at shortstop. Slater DeBrun kind of fits that bouncy, prototypical leadoff hitter. He's in the mold of someone that fits that archetype. He's a plus defender in center field. The instincts with him are outstanding. And then Joseph Jurwa, a little bit of a unicorny type guy in that he's a 6'8", 200-pound left-hander, attacks from this really low 3/4 slot, borderline sidearm slot, plus changeup. Fastball has some run and ride through the zone. It'll be interesting to see how his off-speed offerings, particularly his kind of slurvy breaking ball, is developed. But I really love those first 5 picks. I really like the Phillies trio of arms, particularly with Gage Wood, Kate Obermueller, and Cody Bowker, particularly Gage Wood at pick 26, I think it was. I think that's tremendous value for someone like Gage Wood, who is one of the best fastballs in this year's draft. Pairs it with an above average breaking ball, and Kate Obermueller is a really, really tough AB for both left-handers and right-handers. You got a plus slider. Fastball's been up to 98 from a really, really low release height. It's just a tough and unique look. So those 2 classes stood out to me just off the bat.
So I'm going to go to the very top of the draft just to let's talk through the Nationals draft. I do think it was very interesting. For a lot of people, I do think that they look at that and say, wow, that was a shocker that they went Eli Willits, the high school shortstop, 1-1. A lot of thought that maybe it would be Cade Anderson, maybe it would be Ethan Holiday. But Willits has always kind of been in that mix. He's definitely more of a shortstop long-term than Ethan Holiday. The question is the power going to develop? But he's also the youngest player literally ever drafted with the first pick. So there's room for him to develop. There's time for him to develop. But the other thing I would say with that is we saw in day 2, we saw today kind of the after effects of that. I can say pretty confidently by the way that they drafted on day 2, Eli Willits is not going to get full bonus pool. We knew that, but they were able to get guys like Miguel Cime, who throws 100, who was a guy who was considered very likely a second-round pick. They got Coy James, who could have easily been a second-round pick, high school shortstop in the in the 5th round. So these are the kind of guys where I wouldn't even say you're spreading it around, because Eli Willits was considered one of the top guys in the draft. But by doing that and by making a deal, I would say that they've got like 4 or 5, swings. They basically gave themselves more chances in addition to getting a really top talent.
Okay. Do you think that's the right? Oh, go ahead, Peter.
No, I was going to say, I didn't even really think Eli Willits was all that surprising. Like, I guess the two leaders in the clubhouse in the lead up to the draft seemed to have been Kate Anderson and Ethan Holiday, but Willits was always right there. I mean, in our staff draft in late April, I took Willits 1-1 with my hypothetical pick as the Nationals. I mean, he was always a contender. I would say the pick would have fit the bill of shocking if it wasn't any of that trio of Anderson, Holiday, or Willits. And Willits is a really, really good player. And I think that in the aftermath of last night, he's kind of gone a little bit underrated. I think people don't really realize how good of a player he is. I mean, it's a really enticing offensive profile. The hit ability is advanced. He's got a quick and compact swing from both sides of the plate with an advanced feel for the barrel. I mean, it's a 55 borderline 6 hit. And just naturally, JJ, you cited it in the open, but I mean, he's 17 years old. He's the youngest number 1 overall pick in MLB draft history. Just a byproduct of him naturally getting older. He's going to add physicality and strength and potentially get to MLB average power. And that creates a really appealing offensive profile to go along with his already above average defense at shortstop. He's a plus runner. His baseball sense is outstanding. He comes from a baseball family. His dad, Coach Reggie Willits, was an outfielder with the Angels for 7 years. He's now the associate head coach at Oklahoma. His brother Jackson's been the starting shortstop at Oklahoma for 2 years. I mean, he's been around the game since the second he was brought into this world. So I mean, I like people calling the Nationals cheap or whatever and saying they're deal hunting. Like, not at all. Like, make no mistake about it. This dude was the top guy on their board 1,000%, and they wouldn't have taken anyone else. And you also see the byproduct of that with who they got in the following rounds, as JJ, you also alluded to, that trio of high schoolers they got in rounds 3 through 5 with Landon Harmon, Miguel Sime, and Coy James. Like, that is a really vaunted trio of high upside guys, especially Landon Harmon in the third. 6'5" projectable right-hander with tremendous arm speed. Fastball is a 70 grade pitch. I mean, he's got arguably as much upside as any high school pitcher in the draft or close to it. And Miguel Sime's long been known for his heater, and Coy James had a great spring rather. But I really like what the Nationals did.
First off, Peter should have been flaunting that. Last night, I hope you put that out there. Hey, I took him 1-1 in my latest. Did you tweet that out for the world? Because most people were looking like, who had this guy going number 1?
I came lighter to the Dodgers in the last staff draft, but I got him the wrong round because we only went to 40 and he was 63. But it was a good fit.
Still impressive, yes. And my second question, in seriousness, is what do you think of the way that teams are plugging in ages into their models? Do you think, obviously it's a big factor, right? Do you think that they're overhyping by doing that, or do you think they should be doing that? And just for clarification for our crowd, yes, youngest player. So they're saying he's got this much more growth based on how we evaluate players at that age.
What I would say is it's a piece, and it should be a factor, right? You should put it in there. Bobby Witt Jr. was one of the old guys in his class. So if you said we put our model here and it spits out that you can't draft Bobby Witt Jr. because he's too old for the class, then rework your model, right? If you want to say, again, the thing with all these models that all these teams have now is it should not be to say, here's our pick. It should be to say, we're lining up a board and it's trying to take all these, I mean, literally probably thousands of inputs now, weight them all, and then spit out something. But then at the end of the day, the human should still be like, okay, I know what this says, but now, for instance, if you did a model the year that Mike Trout was a first rounder, which they didn't have many really models back then, but if you did, Mike Trout's model, it would have been like, New Jersey high school guy, competition's not good enough, let's, move on. And obviously you don't do that.
Yeah, you have to be careful, that's all. But it is a factor for sure. Just want to make sure people are aware of that. That's enticing. I think there was a point in our game where you would look at a 17-year-old back. Are you kidding me? I'm not putting my freaking job on the line for this kind of wild card. And now it's like, oh, well, first off, we have many years on the 5-year plan to make sure that this goes right. It buys you time for whoever's making those decisions. And there is growth potential that you generally on the average curve do not see from a 19-year-old or a 22-year-old, right? That obviously you grow into your body and things change.
Exactly. And so you are trying to, again, you're factoring it in there. You
Yeah.
don't take Eli Willet's 1-1 because he's young. You take him because you like the talent. You think that this is a guy who could be your shortstop in the long term for years to come. But then it's a nice bonus for him that he's also so young.
Yes. All right, we want to hit other points of the top of the draft coming up next. So quickie break and our last break. Then we'll get into some other parts of the top.
Ah, summer. We almost forgot what it feels like to play just because. But even summer needs backup. A little partner in the good kind of chaos. Someone to bring the kung fu kicks. Hiya! To train some dragons. Fly, young dragon rider, fly. The kind of fun that keeps the days going. That turns living rooms into playgrounds and reminds us what our bodies and our hearts were made for. Play that moves you.
I said quickie break. We are back, and let's get into some other portions of the draft. Tyler Bremner, number 2. I joked on Foul Territory earlier today. Angels called him and said, "We need you Friday. You're starting." I'm kidding. I'm sure that joke's been used a million times.
Chase Shores is in the pen. Sign him on Thursday, their second rounder, and then put the LSU reliever and put him in the pen on.
That's right. Hey, they're trying to make a little wild card run. Don't be surprised. AJ Przinsky and Eric Kratz, sitting on Foul Territory earlier with me, said by far number 1 team that they'd want to get a phone call from these days if they're a college player is the Angels because of your chance to make it. And they've gone through their issues from a performance standpoint, but they're a worse place to be than Anaheim playing with Mike Trout with a chance to win or the chance to get this team back into playoff contention.
Like Peter, with Bremner, he's one of the top college pitchers in this class. But he also is kind of one of the guys who could be the fastest moving, right?
Yeah, so we knew the Angels would kind of make some noise or potentially make a splash at 2. They did just that with getting Tyler Bremner, presumably on a decent haircut, but a little bit like Willits. People kind of forget how good Tyler Bremner is. I mean, the fastball is a plus pitch up to 98. The traits about it, or the under the hood traits, are really exciting. His changeup's a legitimate wipeout double plus pitch that's one of the best of its kind and one of the best individual pitches in this year's draft. The slider has above average potential, and he's a plus strike thrower with an outstanding mound presence and a slam dunk starter. So, I mean, when you start to bucket these guys and, see where they fit, he fits into a whole lot of positive buckets. And also, as kind of you mentioned, to be a potentially efficient mover, there isn't really an obvious wart with Bremner that you can point to and circle and be like, okay, we really got to dive in here and fix this, or this area really needs work. Yes, the slider needs refining. It got hit around a little bit this year. There are other things, you can tinker with, but he's a really polished arm.
Other thing I would just add with that is that when you look at a guy like Bremner, there was a lot of like, oh, but he didn't perform this year. He just performed poorly at the wrong time, which is the start of the season. And then he was back to being Tyler Bremner. But if you just focused on it in, March, you're like, oh, he's not what he's supposed to be. By the end of the year, he was what he's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. All right, anyone else that you want to run through that really stood out one way or another? Oh, it looks like we have a question too, or more of a comment, but still worth bringing up from Dylan, who follows the show, and we appreciate that, Dylan. I'm intrigued by Kyson Witherspoon at 15 overall to the Red Sox. His skipper in college was phenomenal in developing him.
I got to say, the Red Sox pitching, you talk about Witherspoon, but Witherspoon, Marcus Phillips, Anthony Ianson, who we expected to go a good bit higher than that. This is a number of starters who all could end up being, a number of pitchers who could all make an impact for the Red Sox and could all be reasonably fast movers. Don't expect them there this year. Don't maybe expect them there next year. But, okay, 27, I think it's not crazy.
Yeah,
Peter, what do you think?
That's a really fun trio, especially just given the prowess of the Red Sox player development department, particularly on the pitching side. But focusing solely on the comment about Kyson, I mean, he's another one that was one of the premier arms in this year's draft, plus fastball slider combo, above average strike thrower, changeup will flash, holds his velocity really impressively throughout the entirety of his outing. I mean, he'll live in the mid 90s and bump a 97, 98 for the entirety of his start. Like, he's a starter all the way for me. and he's another one that I think is a fun developmental pairing with the Red Sox. Same with Phillips and Ianson. From a stuff standpoint, Phillips especially with the fastball slider combo, he's this big physical right-hander. The stuff is really loud. I think there's a ton of upside there.
All right, let's get one more comment in there. Will
Okay.
DeBartolo even be the GM for the Nationals or in the front office by the time Willits gets to the show?
Great question. We do have past precedent here because when Mike Rizzo made the pick in 2009, certain Steven Strasburg, he was the interim GM because Jim Bowden had resigned in March.
Yep.
So it doesn't guarantee that will happen, but it is absolutely a possibility. But I will also say with this is something where by doing what they did, it may have altered how they did the draft, but at the same time, the same general people were making these decisions. You still have the same scouting department, the analytics department, the sports performance department. All those places are still involved in this. And so I would say, we don't know the answer to that question. They did not right away make him the permanent GM, but the Nationals do have a precedent of promoting someone to that role in this situation.
And, hey, the Rockies had Bill Schmidt as the interim quite a bit ago, and he's still running. I mean, maybe not for much longer, but he's been running for a long time in that role, so it is possible. But you could also make that case for any GM that drafts a 17-year-old, and if that 17-year-old does take time, like let's say they don't get up to the show till they're 22 or 23, any GM could be under fire over a 5 to 6 year period.
But that's what it'll be interesting to see because the great ones don't take that long. Now, he might, but Bobby Witt Jr. beat a lot of the college guys from his draft class to the majors. The great ones, C.J. Abrams from that class moved really quick. The great ones at the top of the draft don't take a whole lot of time.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Hey, you're seeing those very young call-ups. Roman Anthony's
what, 22?
23. It's that.
23.
Oh, he's 23 now?
Yeah.
He is?
No,
okay.
no. I'm sorry. I thought you were what, draft class.
Oh, draft class. I'm saying, how old is Roman Anthony? 21?
21, yeah.
Yeah. So when it's 21. When you're seeing someone like that, he's not 22 until next May.
Yeah.
So if they're special, they'll find a way.
Fast.
Exactly. Cool. All right. Last thought on your way out. Give me one more guy you really liked, one way or another. Both of you have one ready on our way out.
Okay. I'm going to say that the Braves, I know a lot of people complained about their first pick. Then they went out and they took Alex Lodis, who I really like as their second-round pick. And then they got Briggs McKenzie, who was probably going to be a second-round pick, I would say, on talent. And they got him, I think, fourth round, and he'll get a lot of money. I kind of liked – you maybe question the first-round pick a little bit, but then you look at what they did long-term, and it's like, okay, it starts to all add up.
I'll go with the last pick of the night, or night one, rather, with the Dodgers taking Landon Vitterick, outfielder out of Cincinnati. Really loud tool set with him, fresh off a career year. Real bat speed, consistently generates quality contact to all fields. The batted ball data is really, really impressive with Vitterick. Chased at just a 17% clip with advanced swing decisions. If he gets even more aggressive against pitches, kind of in his go zone, you could call it, that would serve him well. He's a plus runner. He knows how to run. He's got an above average arm in right field. I mean, you just kind of hear me walk through him a little bit. It's a really, really fun tool set. And when you pair that with the fact that he's going to be in the Dodgers system and under the guise of their player development department, that makes the pick all the more intriguing.
Peter, great work. JJ, obviously great job to you and the entire Baseball America crew. They worked their butts off during this time of year to bring you the best draft coverage on baseballamerica.com. Drop a subscription, go to the website, and go get one to follow everything they do all year long on prospects, draft, and so much more. Thanks, everyone, for checking this show out live here at Truist Community Corner in the Battery. Very cool to do this here, and enjoy the rest of All-Star Week.